introduce the class. Okay, I said I was going to do that, but I'm not ready. Welcome to Greeting the Solstice with our special guest, Trishuwa. Trishuwa works with indigenous heart ceremonial forms, communicating with all species, the elementals, and the invisible world of spirit. She is the Ceremonial Director of the Church of Gaia and a founding member of the Foundation for Gaian Studies. Trishuwa is also a Zen Buddhist and devoted to the teachings of the Dharma as well as the medicine wheel. Trishuwa, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm
going
glad.
to hand the microphone over to you now.
Okay, thank you.
Or the speaking stick.
I think you may be aware right now that joining me is Bodhi, my puppy. Well, he's 1.5 years, but he's a little being. So he will be in and out because that's what he does. And I haven't taught in a while. I have done mentoring things and stuff like that, but because of the pandemic. So I was really grateful that this is offered because I was tired of not doing one of the things I love and reaching out to people and having them reach back to me. And I'm well aware that it's different because it's Zoom. And as Carice said to me before you all join, just pretend it's like at a conference in those big tents or something like that. And I also was thinking of pretending like it was a sweat lodge and we're all in a sacred space. And if some of you have heard me speak at perhaps the conference or been in ceremony with me, you know I kind of wing it. But today, because of Zoom, I have a few backup notes to help me out in case I lose my bearings, because I can't look into your faces. And when I look into your faces, it reminds me of who I am and why I'm here and what I'm supposed to do. For me, the whole life experience of ceremony, including the times of years that we celebrate in particular, like the upcoming solstice, is about relationship and intimacy and being close to one another. So I'm going to read this little paragraph I wrote some time ago. I came across it and I thought it wasn't bad. So I'm going to read it. There are moments when I know that I am a microcosm of the universe, the essential soul of a cedar, a bear, an ocean, the mythological embodiment of our ancestors, gods, goddesses, part of a collective consciousness. To me, that is about what my life is about, is always remembering that and coming back to that and having a spiritual practice that helps me do that. In some ways, we shouldn't even need a spiritual practice, but we separate ourselves from our sensual life force soul being. And that's what spiritual practice is about. For me, it has been the medicine wheel. And then about 12 years ago, Zen Buddhism came into my life. So it's the medicine wheel and the Dharma wheel. And in particular, in these times, which I think are rather chaotic and hard on us sometimes, I've gotten used to being alone a lot more and have gotten fond of it. but still I miss the intimacy I used to experience when I could travel and be with all of you. So I think it's even more important for us to reach out like this, whether it be via FaceTime, Zoom, emails, however we do, so we still have a certain amount of connection. Now, we're not quite at solstice yet. We're still in what I call in the medicine wheel, bear time. And the medicine wheel that I participate with is the one given to Sun Bear, the Ojibwe holy man, that he had envisioned. He's been gone into spirit some time ago, but he was a teacher of mine. And I began to follow the teachings of the medicine wheel. That time of the North time, the elder time, the earth time, when the earth is pregnant with all life that will give birth in the spring, is the time we're entering. And it's the time of the returning light, when the days begin to grow longer, very slowly, but the light comes back. Now we're at the end of the time when the days are still short and the nights are going just a little bit longer. It's called bear time. And I believe in the spirit of the bear, but if you don't, just metaphorically, the bear goes into its den for a long winter sleep, and we go into our dens, whether we know it or not. With how we live today, it's not as conscious because we live in communities where our heat is provided, our food is provided. We aren't affected as much as we used to be before these modern tools came about. But still, our bodies remember, because our bodies are earth. Everything in the earth, of the earth, and I say even beyond the earth's atmosphere, is part of who we are. We carry it in our bodies. We're sort of like walking trees. The trees connect to the earth and they reach their leaves and their branches to the sky. We are connected to the earth and we reach to the branches and to the sky, just as trees do. It's hard to remember that unless you do something like, which I have done quite often, is a vision quest. But I had this practice I did one time, and some of you may know this practice. It was one of Sun Bear's things. You bury yourself in the earth, which sounds very dramatic, but all it is you hollow out a piece of the earth that's the size of your body, wrap a blanket around you, and you cover it with earth. So in the end, you're left with your face sticking out and one arm. And you stay there for at least overnight, if not longer. And when I did that, one of the things that I experienced was I was moving with the earth. The sky did not move. The stars did not move. I was moving with the earth. I was part of the earth. There was no difference with me and a tree or anything else. I just happened to do different things on it. And even during those times, I became very still just to be with the earth. And also if I moved, dirt got in my crevices, which was rather uncomfortable. And so I became very still and part of the earth. And so much so that little scurriers would walk across me. And the stillness of me, I could see the eyes of the winged ones in the trees. I could hear things. Things were not afraid of me because I had accepted that I was part of the earth. A teacher of mine last week said, "We are the earth and the earth is us." And until we fully acknowledge that, the kind of healing that we wish to have during this time, which I think is very chaotic, won't stop. And that is the healing that's required. Now, I'm 78, so I'm not so sure that's going to happen in my lifetime. But I'm going to do my best to do everything I can to be of the earth each day and to remember I am part of the whole. One of the things that's happening during this time is we're becoming, well, if something's gone wrong, we get upset about it. If we've been wronged, if friends have been wronged, if teachings have been wronged, it's like the wounds of the world are being opened. And everybody that feels these wounds deeply and has held them in for a long time are letting them open. And it is sometimes difficult to not respond in kind, but it's essential that we not respond in kind for healing to take place. Now, one of the teachings on the medicine wheel, the West time, which we are in now, is learning from your experience so it becomes true awareness and turns into strength. The kind of strength where you can hold the elders on your shoulders, put their arm around your shoulder, and the young ones on your lap, so that we all survive. And examine those things inside of ourselves. And that's sometimes called the shadow time, the dark time, the fall time. In the fall, on the North American continent, things are dying away. They're becoming compost for the new time ahead. So then when we approach the solstice, we are ready to nurture those seeds. The earth is pregnant with the seeds that will give birth in the spring. We too are pregnant with the seeds of our awareness and our experience that have strengthened us because we've gone into the den and self-examined. So now we can nurture those seeds. And as we nurture those seeds, we nurture the whole earth. They have to coexist. They do coexist. On the medicine wheel, the pathway stones in the north time, which is associated with the physical body, because in the north time, you have to be careful with your body. It's wintertime. Food isn't growing as easily. You may need things to heat your home. It's also the time of the days are just getting brighter, but there's still a lot of darkness, but you feel the brightness and the light coming. So it's the sharing of story time. It's a sharing of ancient wisdom. It's teaching the children. It's listening to the elders. and it's listening to what spirit has to say. And when you move into your physical body at that level, breath by breath, breathing in and out, sinking down into your body, where all truth is, then you can nurture yourself and those seeds that have been planted inside of you. The pathway stones, Sun Bear named them, are called cleansing, renewal, and purity. Now, cleansing, what does that mean? It means letting go of the things that no longer serve you. That doesn't mean they didn't serve you, but they no longer serve you. So you let them go. A simple thing is, I really don't like this pandemic. And I don't like, personally, things it limits me from doing. Well, that's too bad. So how do I let that go? How do I cleanse myself of that rebellious attitude and just be in the present and be accepting of what is? A lot of it is being in relationship with my physical body and in relationship to my home, my community, and to the sweet piece of earth that I live upon, and honoring it. So this kind of cleansing calls for introspection, and that's where a spiritual practice comes into being. I also believe in a prayer about that. And some of you have heard me pray. I always used to say, people would say, what do you do? And I say, I'm a professional prayer, which is a great profession to have. But so I would pray and call on the whole universe as best I could. And I had a particular way of doing it, which was of indigenous mind, earth-centered pagan mind. I would call on the above, and now I call on the above. Grandfather, Sun, the star people, Creator, the great mysterious, the goddess, to come and be with me. And I give thanks for that. I would call on the sweet Mother Earth to come and hold me and give thanks for always holding me. Call on the powers of the North, the elder time and the winter time, as I do now. Call on the powers of the East, the springtime, the new growth time, the new visioning time, where we call on sacred mind and heart to give us the clarity we need to tend to the goals and the things that we want to live our life with, follow our true path. I call on the South time. Now in Sun Bear's wheel, there were spirit animals which went with each of the directions. I have to mention the South time because this is a special spirit friend of mine and his Oceanadisio coyote friends. And many of you are lucky enough to have spirit friends since you were very young. Not the same one as me, but Coyote was mine. And Coyote is always with me, teaching me how to grow, how to love, and how to trust my heart. That's the South time, the summer solstice time. And then the West time, which is Mojukiwa's the great bear, goes into the den to nurture, to hold life, and to be reborn again with strength and learning from experience. And then in the north time, and as I speak, I feel them all coming. I hope you do too. In the north time, it was Wabus, the white buffalo. And as you know, on this continent, buffalo used to roam all over this continent and down into Mexico as well. And then with the European immigration and invasion, so to speak, their lives were taken. And so not that many of them roam here in certain parts of the country. And that was something that later on we learned the lessons of. So we call on the spirit of the buffalo because they gave of their lives so the people could live. They gave them food, they gave them shelter, they gave them tools. And the ancient ones could call them and they would offer themselves. So when the European invasion happened, they just killed them. Sometimes they used all of their bodies, which was an honorable thing to do, but a lot of things they were just trophies. So there is this sadness that is still part of that time. And it behooves, I think, all of us, especially many of you are herbalists, who understand the power and the giveaway of plants, which I call the Green Nation, and how gracious they are in that giveaway. And the ability to communicate with them, oh, is such a joy. I am not an herbalist, but I travel in that world quite a bit. My partners are herbalists. Most of my healing is through herbs. All of my healing is through herbs, if not through prayer. And my healers, herbalist healers, are the ones that know how to talk to the plants. They sit with them, they talk to them, they listen to them. They assume they know nothing until they sit with them. And they find out something new about them. I know there are some people that are, what do you call them? Radical vegetarians or vegans. Because, and I think I'm pretty much like that now, mainly because it agrees with my body. But I'm not radical about it. I think what it is that people don't realize that a carrot, when you're taking it from the earth, it's dying for you. Just the same as a chicken. So if we do choose to eat four-legged food, then it behooves us to honor that. I've even told people, like if you go shop at a grocery store and you're picking out meat, think about the journey it's been on and give thanks for that journey, that it came to that place so you could be nourished, wrapped in all that foil and everything, and that it probably endured lack of consciousness by the people that took the life, cut it up into pieces, packaged it, and shipped it. Which is why I also believe in, if you eat meat, choose someone that honors the life of the cattle, the hogs, the chicken, the fish, whatever it is, that they honor that life. And I like to think about the journey that has gone on. And even if I buy something like that, which I do, I cook chicken for my Bodhi friend, my little dog friend. He doesn't want to be a vegetarian, although I do my best to give him vegetables. I have to disguise them surrounded by chicken because I think they're good for him. But I think about that journey as I touch the chicken breast I'm buying and where it's been, and give thanks. Here I'm in a grocery store. I do it silently, but I do that. And when you practice this kind of way of being, after a while, you feel the response. That's why I say everybody has to have some sort of spiritual practice. It can be different, but some sort of spiritual practice. 12 years ago, I think it's 12, 13 maybe, when Zen Buddhism came into my life, I was in real trouble. Most of us don't choose paths until we're miserable. I wish it was different, but we have to, we go along, life's comfortable, it's fine just the way it is. We don't want to move on. We want to keep comfortable. And then something happens and we're not so comfortable anymore. And old survival things come up. And we begin to respond from that survival energy and make messes perhaps with loved ones or whomever you're interacting with. And I was in that place. So I went for 4 weeks to a winter practice at Upaya Zen Center in Santa Fe, which is my Sangha, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And my plan was to come enlightened in 4 weeks, which shows you how delusional I was. Desperation creates delusions. And that really, it didn't happen. But I began to understand the way of combining thoughtfulness and the mind with the heart. And I began to understand, do no harm, do good, and then do good for others, which is one version of the 3 pure precepts of Buddhism. If you look them up, you're going to find Buddhists talk a lot and write a lot. So you'll find a lot of things they will say about that in different ways. But what it boils down to, sometimes they say do no evil, but I prefer the way of saying of do no harm. Because when you say evil, it gets into sin and condemnations for a lot of people. But basically, it's like, do no harm. So if you lead a devoted life to participate with as an herbalist, as a healer, as a bus driver, whatever it is, you do no harm. Then you do good. And then you help others to do good. And it becomes a devoted life. You have to get over expectations. I'm not over them, but I work on it. Expectations are like attachments. It's got to be this way, which is different than aspirations. I aspire to lead an honorable life. Expectations may mean, I want you all to do what I'm telling you because I think it's a good idea. Well, maybe it's not. Besides, it's not going to happen. So it's a waste of my energy and a waste of my time. And we get to this second word in the pathway stones and the medicine wheel called renewal. This is solstice ceremony, renewal. If you give up things that no longer serve you, there perhaps is an emptiness, a void, because it filled us in some way. And even though it's no longer good for you, there's an emptiness, perhaps a certain despair and loneliness. You've heard like how we carry on our birth scripts because that's what we know. And if we give them up, we're frightened because it was a pattern we knew. So there's a certain loneliness, and we're tempted to go back into the shadows of our experience, previous experience. So we have to renew. And how do we renew? Each of us, it's an individual thing. But it is a renewing. First, you tend to your body. How does your body need to be renewed? Maybe you need to change your diet. Maybe you need to walk more. Maybe you need to be touched. But you renew your body. And then you renew how you think, mind. What do you put in the place of the things that you just let go? And for that, I know all of you have had this aha thing. That's what it is. Aha. And you put that renewal, that kind of awareness into your mind. You breathe it in, because breath, that's the breath of life, the breath of inspiration, which is why this pandemic is so disheartening. It's taking away our ability to breathe. The breath of inspiration. So when I sit on my meditation cushion, I got all this mind chatter going on, I just breathe and breathe, count my breaths sometimes so I can, quiet the inner chatter. And then one of the next things I do is give thanks that I can breathe, that I still take air into my lungs. And I pray for those that are suffering because they can't breathe. There's a lot of meaning given to the pandemic. Why is it? What is this virus? All these sort of things. And one of the things I think is happening for us is an appreciation of being able to breathe and appreciating the air. So there's a certain cleansing with your breath. And that's also paying attention to in ceremony. Like in solstice, I will smudge everything. I know most of you probably know about smudging. It's the burning of herbs or incense to kind of renew and cleanse the air, and wafting it over yourself, wafting it throughout the rooms that you live in, even walking around the house. The lighting of fires, because fire is grandfather's son, the returning of the light embodied on the earth. So the lighting of the fires to celebrate that the days are getting longer and grandfather's son is going to be with us longer each day. In some indigenous ceremonies, they would let the fires go out totally, which if you're living by heat with fire, that was a bit of a sacrifice because some of the warmth would go away. But that was part of the ceremony, to let the fires go out totally and to rekindle them anew. So that's one of the ways of honoring renewal. And then the honoring of the heart space of love. We are so, I believe, in love with romantic love, which I am too. I love it. I mean, some of my favorite feel-good movies are romantic love stories. I just love them. And I'm really glad J-Lo and Ben are back together because it's this romantic love story of which I know nothing about, but you know, I like to make up. It's really gooey and wonderful. But this other kind of love born of empathy and caring and compassion, that is a giveaway. Sometimes we first experience that with our children. Like automatically your heart just opens to them. Unbidden, you want to give them all the love that you have. Many of you, I suspect, that are listening to my talk are healers of some sort, because I know kind of the list that is promoting this is a lot of healers. And we forget that to be healers, we have to go beyond empathy. Because you can get empathy burnout. Right? Feeling so bad for people, giving up so much of yourself that you get depleted. So you have to go beyond empathy. And you know, one of my favorite deities is Kuan Yin, of the Buddhist and Hindu traditions, who hears the cries of the world. So as a healer, I always thought I should be like that. I should hear the cries of the world and respond to people with that love and that caring. I forgot. I needed to be heard. I needed to be loved. I needed to respond to. I need to come from a whole place in my heart. I needed to be happy some of the time, but at peace and joyful most of the time. To be a genuine, caring person. And to take the time to figure out how to do that day to day. And then there's that third pathway stone, purity, which sometimes has like a connotation of negativity, but that's not how it's intended. It means that what you give physically and from your heart has no attachments to it. I will love you, I will heal you, and therefore you will be appreciative. You might even worship me, you might even put me on a pedestal, whatever that. And that's what I get for being your healer. It doesn't work. Sometimes it works, but it's very short term. And so when you are a healer and you do this, it needs to be a total giveaway, which means really knowing yourself well. And even if you aren't a healer, I say that because I know many of you are, but even if you aren't a healer, you need to come from that place. And you recognize those people when you meet them. They're every place. The young man that sacks my groceries looks into my eyes, fully aware and present, sees what I bought and says, "Are you going to make some chili? What's your recipe? I got a good one." And this is a genuine exchange of caring, the giveaway of one person to another, with the purity of heart, the openness of the mind, born of experience that you can recognize that love, that caring when it comes your way. And people call that compassion. And compassion has this funny connotation too. It's like, I like the word, but it sometimes it has a political correctness about it sometimes. If you're a compassionate person, then you act this way. I believe true compassion is that natural giveaway of love and of caring. And you do that with everything. You take a glass of water, you drink it. It is the life blood of Mother Earth that you're drinking, and it is nourishing you. So there is gratitude for that. The same with the food you eat, or the clothes you wear, or how you ornament your house. Like what plants you buy. How do they nourish you? How do you nourish them? Everything chosen with this kind of awareness and caring and love. And you can tell, like, sometimes I want things because they're popular, or I want clothes because it's made by somebody I think is really cool and they're beautiful, but they're not something that's going to bring me the love I need when I put them on my body. They might someone else, but not me. So I choose even my clothes that way, my furniture that way. And the people I'm in relationship most often that way, that they are willing to give me that kind of caring. And that doesn't mean we always agree. We have different opinions, but they give me that kind of caring. When you do this and you renew in the North time, I believe it helps with this chaos where everybody is, me too, me too. I was hurt, I was abused, I was that, blah, blah, blah. I was picked on, and that's probably true. But what are you going to do with that? If you need to heal, do it in a way that doesn't cause harm, that you feel good about, and that you can give that good back. To me, prayer is giving thanks, asking for what you need, and giving it back to yourself and to others. It's just a communication. So even when I eat some food, I will ask that it nourish my body. Thank you for its giveaway, because it is then part of me. In this body, which is Mother Earth, our own piece of Mother Earth, and we came from Mother Earth, and people call this past lives. Some people call it DNA. I do happen to believe in past lives, but it doesn't matter. It could be the DNA that swims through me. The ancestors are there. The ancestors that have gone before us are automatically part of our bodies. And who we are and how we're learning in this lifetime, we become the womb for the future. The seeds that we grow inside of ourselves, awareness and love and strength, are the seeds of the future. And we give them freely. If we can't give them freely, then we figure out how we need to nourish ourselves. So that's an indicator. Something's off. I need to nourish myself. Now, a lot of people come to me because they want to find their true path. It's a big deal. They somehow think it makes them important. And it does. But I call on each of you, you know what your true path is. But maybe it's not come into your awareness. There was something that touched you, usually at a young age. Sometimes we call this inner counsel work, all the aspects of who you are, the infant, the 2-year-old, the 4-year-old, the whoever it is. Or sometimes it's just sitting and remembering the times in your life where you felt, oh, I know this is a good thing. So this is where I'm looking at the time. Ooh, okay, I was going to tell you a little story. Maybe it'll be a shorter story. But this is when I became aware of my path. But I didn't know it for a lot of years. And that's how it is for most people. And it was the garden, my first garden. Sounds very biblical, doesn't it? I wasn't raised a Christian, so later on I thought, isn't that interesting that my path is about a garden? This was a garden in northern New Mexico. My mother loved gardening. Hispanic and indigenous man came to help her learn about the garden. His name was Harkova. And his people had been there for generations. He knew the land. He knew the water. It was a garden that was watered by irrigation ditches. The ancient tradition brought by Spain and the Mayans and the Aztecs, and everybody incorporated this irrigation system that is still part of the Southwest and Mexico. And I think down into Central America too. And that was so holy. He couldn't speak English, Harkova, and he was deaf. But somehow he and Mom communicated, waving of arms and signaling and everything. I followed him around every day. I knew he was magic. And when he opened the gate, the lock for the water to come in, and with a spade, would take the dirt out so the water would flow between the rows and make the earth dark. It was magic. I knew then that was life. That was all life. My mother loved to garden. She didn't quite play with a full deck, as the saying goes. And that's kind of good in some ways. I didn't either for a long time, maybe still not. But it opens up another perspective of seeing reality in another way. So one time she was in her magic place in the garden. And she wasn't mother, lover, wife. She was a woman that planted the seeds, that talked to them and knew the ancestors was who she was working with the earth. And I saw her, I walked to her, she had me kneel down and she fed me earth. It was like a communion. Ever since that day, I knew all life was in the earth. I also knew the star people were in the earth. because the night came, the moon blessed them, and the stars and the planets that blessed them too. So I begin to know all things are earth, all things, including me. That was my beginning. It took me a lot of years to understand that because I wanted to be ordinary, whatever that is. There's no such thing. Besides, I think it might be boring. And then many other teachers came, indigenous teachers, Buddhist teachers, so I could honor myself. I guess I'm looking up to the right to my little clock here. What is it else I want to say to you? You have a purpose, and it's time to live it and remember it. And many of you are, but it's also time to cleanse and renew and give back what you can. First to yourself, and then to those that are in your community, in your world, in your family, family of blood, family of heart, non-humans, the invisible world. The invisible world needs to be acknowledged too. They're here for us, and we're here for them. And they can live inside of us, the invisible world, the spirit of the plants. Osha is a very good friend of mine. That's a plant. And I'm not always around Osha. I have Osha roots. I usually have some Osha roots with me. But I can call on Osha because it's a friend of mine. And it will help me. It will be my medicine, even though I don't have its physical body present with me. Call on the winds, the rains, the mountains, the same way, the spirit of those, and they will be with me and help me. So I think there's a few minutes left, but I think I would just say thank you for all of your lives. Thank you for my life. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you. I've missed it very much. And this helps my heart be open. Thank you. Thank you, Karis. Thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you, Trishuwa. I was going to ask you one question before we part. Can you share with us some suggestions? Anybody who wants to make a little ceremony on the solstice, maybe some way that you tend to honor the solstice, or some suggestions of ways that we can really participate in the actual happening?
One of the ways I do it, which I made up, Stephen and I made it up, is it's our Christmas time in a way. We do a certain amount of gift giving, but we do it on the solstice. How I do it is I pray with my body, and I light a fire in honor of the returning of grandfather's son. I don't know. At 78, I'm not as good at staying up all night, but I have done that. If I don't, I get up early enough to greet the rising sun, and I hold my arms up and open my chest and breathe in the wonderfulness of the returning light and the sun. I also do this practice of asking, you know, that relax your toes, relax your feet, that kind of thing. I do this practice of asking my body what it needs for the coming year. Pose. Thank you for being with me. Is there anything you have to tell me? Anything you need? Because your mind exists in your whole body. And I go through that. And then that becomes part of the ceremony of my day.
That's
I love
beautiful.
lighting fires and staying up all night in a vigil. And it's really good if you have other people, to do that with.
Yes, I'll be lighting a fire for sure. I don't think I'll stay up all night though.
And then you can sing, there's songs of singing and whatever songs you like to sing. I have my own spirit songs I sing sometimes. It's good even if you're in isolation, because my voice gets unused. And
Yeah.
so, to sing the songs.
Do you have the courage to sing a song for us?
Oh my gosh.
Put you on the spot.
I'm not a good singer. She said shyly, but okay. This is my.
It's assumed we have very low expectations of musical talent.
Okay, let me try. Well, I usually sing that 4 times. And that's my song. There are a lot of other songs that, I've been taught, but that is a song that came to me. And many of you probably have heard me sing it and done the same thing of, oh, sing your song. And I go, okay. When it
comes from the heart. Yeah, it's so moving. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you so much for making this happen.
What an honor to have you join us.
Thank you.
Lift our spirits. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any comments in the chat, which Abby will send over to you so that you can read them after. But many, many words of thank you. And that was of spirit, says Heather. Beautiful, says Kate.
Thank you.
Many of your friends are here.
I suspected they might be. I was hoping so. I put the word out just so I could have their company. Yeah.
Before we close, if anybody who's brave enough to turn on their video, and we can just reach our hands out to each other and just be connected for a moment. Click on gallery view. Wait, I gotta get on gallery. It takes me a minute. No. We don't get to hold hands with each other these days much.
No, we don't. I really miss it. The power of human touch. Hello, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Beautiful people. What a community we have.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Trishuwa.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.